Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Rotator Cuff Expert. We're back in my normal place, my normal studio office. Today we're going to talk about steroids. I get this discussion or this question a lot in the office. If I get a steroid, is it going to be bad? Is it going to destroy my joint? Is it safe? Is it going to help? And what are the long-term consequences? Oh, and if I get more than one, do I become immune to them? And now this is immunity. This question usually comes up more in an arthritic shoulder question or arthritic knee question, because lots of times people will get more than one injection. We're talking about rotator cuff, not quite as much, because rotator cuff we're probably going to do a injection. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, then maybe a surgery. So maybe this is a little bit more towards the arthritic or the older shoulder when we have some arthritis, and see how much it will help you. So the question is it safe? Well, like anything else, it has its potential to be not safe. You could get an infection after an injection, just like you inject anything else. You could get an infection. It does decrease the ability or the immune system. That's actually part of the reason why it works. It's a steroidal anti-inflammatory versus a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, right? The steroidal anti-inflammatory is a steroid, makes sense. It has to do with the shape of the molecule. Non-steroidals like Aleve, Advil, all those kind of things you can get over the counter in prescription, those are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, but they're both anti-inflammatories. And what they do, they modulate the inflammatory process, which means they reduce the ability of the immune system to mount a big response. And so obviously if we're going to do something quickly, right, if we're going to have surgery right after a steroid injection, maybe you don't do that, because it could increase the risk of infection. But if you have no intentions of doing surgery yet for months or weeks or whatever, then the data looks like if you wait more, somewhere 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that, if you wait longer and let the body get rid of the steroid, then it's not unsafe to give a steroid injection in general. So that's the first thing, safe. And then so how often? Well, there's not really a number there either, although there's doctors who prefer not to inject very often for whatever reason, a number of reasons, sometimes just because it's time consuming, whatever, and they say, well, why don't we just go ahead and do the surgery instead of doing the injection. So there's some bias in physicians as far as how often we'd like to do an injection. When we talk about will it deteriorate the joint, right? Because that's a big question. And there's been a couple studies, there's been many studies throughout the years. There's been a couple studies recently, one in 2004 by Errol of the British Medical Journal, ARROLL, and then one in Bucci, BUCCI, actually it's recent International Congress of Joint Replacement, ICJR, which is a very prominent group, and they have conferences. And so they did a study in 2020 that demonstrated there was no real progression of arthritis, whether you give an injection or a placebo or a different kind of injection, in the progression of arthritis over time. We know arthritis is going to progress over time. We know that because that's what happens. It's sort of like, I use the analogy of the tread in your tire, right? I mean, if you have a tread on your tire and you continue to use your car, your tire is going to wear out. It has little to do with anything other than that's just what happens in time. And arthritis is like that. Yes, you can modulate the arthritis, and probably the biggest way you can modulate the arthritis or decrease the risk of progression of arthritis is weight. Unfortunately, nobody really wants to talk about weight or load, right? If someone has an arthritic shoulder, they come in and they want to lift heavy overhead. That's not going to help their arthritis. We go back to steroids. Steroids, you do not, in my opinion, become immune to steroids. They may stop working as that natural progression of arthritis goes on. So as the arthritis gets worse and worse and worse, the injection that you give, the same injection over time, may be less helpful, but not because it's your body's becoming immune to it. It's because your arthritis is getting worse. Why is your arthritis getting worse? Well, it's getting worse because it's progressing, like what's going to happen in all of us. We're aging and we have progression, deterioration of joints, unfortunately. And so the long and short of it, steroid is quite safe, although everything has its own risks, right? And we talk about other issues like diabetes and what happens if it can raise your blood sugar. But in general, it's quite safe. Obviously, you need to check with your doctor, make sure you specifically are safe to have the injection. It changes the immune system, which is what all anti-inflammatories do. It appears not to deteriorate cartilage over time, and it appears that we don't become immune to it our deterioration continue to progress on, like our lifespan continue to progress on. So I hope this helps. So please like the channel, please thumbs up this, please subscribe to it, please look at our other avenues that we do. Please talk to me about joining the newsletter where we give other different information. But thanks again. Any questions, please comment below. Again, subscribe, like it, appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.